My deep appreciation of theater history was instilled in me by Tom Empey, a college mentor to me and hundreds of others. While teaching Greek theater terms, he would grab the fabric of his slacks and say, "You see these pants? Euripides Eumenides," making light of content that could be considered rather dry and stuffy while still maintaining respect for the art, which is what I want to do with this podcast. For each episode, I invite a guest from the many paths my theater career has taken me down. I give my guest no idea what we'll be talking about, but they know we're going to find an outrageous story about theater history and perhaps get a better understanding about why we're still doing it after all these years. So welcome to Euripides Eumenides, and I am your host, Aaron Odom.
Apocalypse, apocalypse, I said, why you wanna show up now? Just when the heart of my life was getting good. I'll give you one more chance. Walk on out of the door, yeah. Get your ass to getting where the getting is good.
Hello, my friends and listeners. This is Aaron Odom from Trident Theater in Sheridan, Wyoming, coming to you with another episode of Euripides Eumenides. We've turned the horn. We're over 10 episodes now. We're here on number 11. And today, I have a very fantastic guest for you. This is an old friend of mine from college who, after we graduated, has gone on to some massive success on a lot of different levels. He is a puppeteer. He is a TV and film actor and done a lot of different things. You can see him in Mank, which is just on Netflix this last year. Hail Caesar. He was in the TV shows Penny Dreadful, City of Angels, et cetera, done a lot of commercial work. Also does a lot of improv work, primarily with Impro Theater out of Los Angeles. But he has since relocated and he is now in Tennessee. But ladies and gentlemen, friends and listeners, this is my old friend, Brian Michael Jones. Hello, Brian. Those were real fireworks, ladies and gentlemen.
You should have seen the hands go up, the little finger, and then explodes into a palm. It was very something fantastic. Thank you, Odom. I'm very happy to. Thank you, Odom. Thank you, Odom.
I come to many different names. Brian. It's been such a long time. I love seeing your work. I love seeing you pop up every now and then on things that I don't expect to see you. And I go, there's Beej. And it's
That's
just great.
Jam. I love to surprise people with my work. I'm an actor ninja. I was watching the show having a great time, and then you popped up.
And it made it all the better.
There it is. I leave that up to you.
So, tell me a little bit about this. So you're a puppeteer. You've actually worked with the Henson Workshop and done several things with them in the recent years. Go ahead, tell me about that.
I have. You know, it's one of those dream jobs that you never see coming. Or some people do, and they work and they can make it happen. My way into the Muppet puppet world was through improv. I just do shows, and you know, when you improv, you do these improv shows in LA. You mime all of your movements. There's no real props and things like that, and so I really took to that. I loved that part of the work, mime, space work, what you call it. Somebody saw the movement and said, "Hey, would you ever think about being a puppeteer?" And when I have this life philosophy, when everybody says, "Hey, do you want to do this amazing thing that's unlike anything you've done before?" I always say yes. I'm not taking any risks. But I said yes, so much yes, because I knew that the Henson Company, Brian Henson produces an improv show called Puppet Up, which is essentially, yes, it's like, you know, a little mix of Who's Line, but everybody's got a puppet on their arm, and it's an amazing, wonderful show I'm really proud of. And I've been doing that for about 5 years. But the Henson Company training, I trained for about 5-6 years before they put me on stage, because it's one of the hardest things I've ever learned, but I took to it quick, and I absolutely love it.
Well, I would imagine so. I mean, when we worked together, you had such a wit, an incredible quick wit, and I'm not surprised that translated into your puppetry. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So here we've gone. I mean, here I am in Wyoming. You're in Tennessee. I don't know how the numbers are looking there, but right now in June 2021, we're kind of slowing down here. Life is somewhat resuming normalcy, but we've all had to kind of take on new things over this last year. So what did you do keeping yourself busy during the pandemic?
Well, I teach improv, and so that the classes, of course, couldn't happen. So we had to move to Zoom, and a lot of improv theaters all over the country did the same thing. And I'm really proud of improv theater in that they wasted no time facilitating classes online. Immediately, they were like, "How can we keep going? How can we give our students, the things that they want?"
Awesome.
And so my niche in that transition, which I really liked, was, again, here's another philosophy I have: don't fight the medium. Don't fight the medium. If this is your way in which to tell your story, what strengths, in particular, only specific strengths that medium can give you, lean into it as opposed to fighting it, as opposed to trying to cram a theatrical experience into a square on someone's phone or tablet.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So it took some doing and some transitions because you not only when you improvise, you have to direct yourself. You're also acting. You're also writing. You're also choreographing if need be, and you're singing, writing lyrics, whatever it is. Now, on top of that, you are your own cinematographer. And,
yeah.
And it's been quite a journey and really wonderful to see that skill set continue on through shows that people have on Twitch. And it's turning this big crop of theatrical actors into now, I've got this online format that I can really create new art with. So that was pretty satisfying.
That's fascinating. We've been talking a lot on this program about what is this going to look like after we're done? Because the thing that I hate hearing more than anything else is, I can't wait for things to get back to normal.
Well,
like there isn't a back. There, frankly, right now isn't a back.
Yeah, we're all going forward, and we're taking the good with us when we find out what the new normal is, and it's different.
Yeah.
Gosh, every month it seems like it's different. Well, here's the thing. That's the hard part too. We don't have any precedent to judge whether or not these artistic endeavors are sustainable or wonderful or great on their own merit. We're just doing what we can do in the moment.
Right.
But I think we got to give ourselves some grace. So I think that kind of a hybrid is a really cool thing moving forward. Imagine a radio play on stage with everybody has a little phone in front of them. So not only do you have the audience, but also the online audience at the same time. And I think it's going to explode intimate theater to a much bigger world. I think that's exciting.
I mean, there's been such a stigma for so long about let's not stream this performance. You have to be here and experience it. And in some cases, yes, that's true. But at the same time, I also go, wouldn't that drive the tourism for that even more?
Yes. Yes. And there's strength to both. And I think you can provide both to those two different audiences.
Yeah. So one project that I'm actually really kind of interested in that melds this TV and film experience of yours with your puppeteering. Tell me about Frank and Emmett.
Oh, Frank and Emmett. Thank you for asking that. Why do I love Frank and Emmett so much? Frank and Emmett is a short film written and directed by, his name is Carlos Portolas. And he, I believe, was the head of animation for DreamWorks in the Trolls, specifically the Trolls franchise. Okay. Now I believe he's head of animation. I mean, unless I'm right, I don't think I'm wrong, but he got a wonderful promotion. He's just fantastic, and he wrote this short film called Frank and Emmett, exploring the moment where a longtime puppeteer who has a very successful career with this particular puppet comes to the end of his life and realizes that the puppet is going to have a life past him. And we've seen that happen, of course, with the passing of Jim Henson, and Kermit is now different people. And so it's exploring the idea of what would this puppeteer say to his creation, his partner in comedy and in career. It's a breakup. It's also a blessing to move forward without him. And so me as Emmett, as the puppet, goes through all the emotions therein of what's going on, what does this mean for the future, and the ending is so heartfelt and warm and wonderful, and it was some of the most unique puppetry I've done. I had to be, because as a puppeteer you're constantly under furniture, behind things, contorting your body and the
under a floor. Yeah we were all under, when the Muppets, we were all under the floor. Everybody was 4 feet above us, and so so we were just little heads walking next to people's feet. So for this one, I was under a bed, but they made me this wonderful tiny little, it was like a New York apartment, this little space under this false bed extension. I had my monitor, my snacks, my coloring books.
But they were so wonderful. And when you contort yourself and you have to be under there for hours and hours and hours, they were really great to work with. It was just a wonderful group.
Awesome. Now, can we see that anywhere? Is it out? Is it streaming somewhere?
That is not yet. It is going to surf the festival circuit. And then once it does the festival run, I'm sure it'll be an online viewable thing. But that's outstanding. That might be 6 months from now.
That's outstanding. So, folks, keep an eye out for it. Frank and Emmett. Now, one last thing that's going to be, I think, a really swell transition into what we're going to talk about tonight. You've also done this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a YouTube series called Eggward.
Yeah, so I do put them on YouTube. Eggward. It started, of course, as most things do when you're hanging out with your kids and making breakfast. And as a puppeteer, I'm cracking eggs going, oh, these kind of look like puppet eyeballs. I'll get out a Sharpie and color a little pupil and put them on my index and pinky and put my, 2 middle fingers with my thumb. Everyone at home, do this now. And see if you can pinch the sides and make a little puppet face. And I'm showing Aaron right now because he can see me.
I see it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely looks like one of those weird things in the pit in Labyrinth. But keep going.
That's right. Exactly. And my son got such a kick when, of course, his eyeballs got crushed because I made it. And he's screaming, "My eyeballs!" And the eyeballs are crushed and dangling, and pieces are falling off. And he's like, "I can put them back. Put them back." You can't, of course. No. And Frank Oz, I've never worked with Frank, but I read wonderful things he said about the Muppets in particular, where each one has a thing, and what that is Miss Piggy, for example, doesn't know that she's a pig. Right. Kermit thinks he has everything under control. Gonzo thinks he's got these big dreams and he's completely inadequate. So they're blind to themselves a little bit. Eggward is so proud of his eyeballs. They are the most beautiful, wonderful eggshell eyeballs you've ever seen. Ha-ha! I can do anything. I'm going to climb a rock. Putting himself into these horrible, dangerous situations, and we film these videos, and they always crack and break, and he learns a lesson, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh my God. That's fantastic. Well, yeah, I mean, It's not going to come up right away. But that definitely transitions quite nicely into what we're going to be talking about.
I'll be waiting for that transition moment to hit me.
Yeah. So I usually start these out with a question, Brian, and I don't mean to embarrass my guests when I start out with these questions, but it's just kind of we're testing the waters, we're seeing where we are. So I guess I'll ask you this to start out. What do you know about the ancient Greek annual festival known as the City Dionysus? Oh, I totally screwed it up.
What do you know? You can't even say it.
Well, I'm here drinking my wine for a purpose because we are going to be speaking about the City Dionysia. What do you know about the City Dionysia?
What do I know about the city?
The City Dionysia, the festival. Nothing.
Come on, man. I mean, we took humanity. Didn't we take humanities together in college, Aaron?
Oh my God. And one thing we're going to be talking about today, he's out there somewhere, and I'm not going to mention his name, but our humanities, yes, the old German humanities professor.
If you are sleeping, I will put a laser pointer onto your face.
Yep. And he and I got into an argument about some terminology that we're going to be discussing here. Turns out I was wrong. How about that?
How about that?
You go to this humanities professor who's been teaching this for decades, like, excuse me, I'm 21 and I got it right. So,
all right.
Here we go. While not all ancient Greek culture accepted his inclusion, most considered the god Dionysus to be one of the 12 Olympians. According to popular mythology, these were the 12 major deities who resided on Mount Olympus and together controlled various aspects of the universe. While the general public is more familiar with gods like Zeus and Poseidon, Apollo, etc., Dionysus is not one who is frequently remembered in a more general capacity, despite being one of the Olympians. This could be due to the areas of the universe that Dionysus oversaw. Whereas we understand that Poseidon controls the oceans and the waterways.
I'm sorry, that's the second time you said Poseidon. Mm-hmm. And is it Poseidon or Poseidon?
Well, I think the default.
This is a role reversal. I'm you at age 21. You are the one who's done all the research, and I've been challenging you.
Okay, that's fine. I will not say his name again for this entire episode.
Say P-Dog.
P-Dog controls the oceans and waterways, and Apollo, that's how I'm sure that's pronounced that way, is the god of the sun or medicine. Dionysus has a list of powers and realms that he oversaw that today may make him seem like a little bit of a black sheep, but nonetheless equally important to Greek culture.
See, I thought Dionysus was a woman.
Oh no.
That's how wrong I am about everything.
Well, you see, Dionysus is widely known as the god of wine, winemaking, grape cultivation, fertility, ritual madness, theater, and religious ecstasy.
That all just goes in the same basket, doesn't it?
Right? Now, before we jump the gun on this, making assumptions on what the laundry list of duties could mean, please allow me to explain the gentler side of Dionysian mythology. As he was the god of wine and fertility, most Greeks considered Dionysus to be an agricultural deity. So the allusion was not necessarily always towards what being a god of wine, fertility, and religious ecstasy could imply.
Yes. Well, I'm there.
Rather, Dionysus was mainly praised as one responsible for the change of seasons, which could be celebrated with annual festivals. Okay.
Any opportunity to drink, right? That's just
right.
The sun's
Exactly.
in a different place in the sky. Let's drink it up.
I always love that when people are like, I'm not sure what the Cinco de Mayo means, but I'm there. And you literally go, it's literally the 5th of May. I know it has more historical significance, but that's a literal translation.
I got married on the 6th, so it's May the 4th, Cinco de Mayo anniversary. It's a wonderful weekend.
Now, while there were several regularly scheduled festivals throughout the year to honor the change of seasons and thus Dionysus, beyond a doubt, the largest and most extravagant each year was the city Dionysia in Athens. Celebrated every year in the Greek calendar month of, oh God, I don't even know how to say this, but I put it in here just to give myself this challenge. Okay. The Greek calendar month of Elaphebolion.
I laugh at bullion.
Elaphebolion in the Athenian calendar. This would be around the last 2 weeks of March and the first 2 weeks of April in our current Gregorian calendar. So, cool. Of course, this would be the time of year when things are starting to bloom and blossom again. So it's somewhat convenient to a belief structure that the praise and celebration of an agricultural god during the city Dionysia resulted in a good spring.
Spring has sprung. Let's get wine.
Look what we did. We praised the god, and my goodness, everything bloomed again.
Every year. It's happened. Hasn't it happened every year? Yes.
Every single yes. Well, we better not stop that.
That's right.
Now, to understand the ceremony and the rituals of this festival, it is necessary to understand a few things about the story of Dionysus as passed down to us through mythology. So let's start with his birth, or rather, his first birth.
Ooh. His first birth?
First birth.
Are you going to tell now, Aaron? Are you going to tell the story like once upon a time?
No. I'm actually going to be interesting with it.
Oh, snap!
Now there are actually several variations of this myth. As you may recall, ancient Greece was a disconnected series of city-states, and while most of the city-states shared the same mythology, there were some variations from place to place and era to era. So I'm going to relay this the way the Athenians understood it, with the disclaimer that I am in no way claiming to be a scholar in ancient Greek culture.
I am. I'm just going to throw that out there. I know it all.
Let me show you my paper. On the web.
Ask me anything and I will come up with a made-up.
So let's begin.
Okay.
You see, Dionysus was one of these lucky beings who is the fruit of the wandering loins of Zeus.
Where did my loins go? Gosh, I left them on my nightstand. I took them off. I went to bed. I woke up. Mercury?
My son is 13 right now, and like he had some Greek mythology in his history class this year. And there were times he would come to me. He's like, did Zeus ever like not sleep with someone? You're like, hey,
no player. No. Yeah. Now, wandering loins. Sorry, you were mentioning the wandering loins of Zeus.
The wandering loins of Zeus. Upon observing a sexy young woman named Semele sacrificing a bull on the altar in one of his temples, Zeus became quite enamored with this cute little zealot. One thing led to another, and eventually Semele became pregnant with Zeus's baby.
See, I don't believe that. I don't think one thing led to another. I think it was like sacrificing a bull, let's have sex. I don't think it was really a series of events that got the mood going. I'm Zeus.
Boom.
Right. That's it.
There's one part of the variation on that story where it's like he hid under her bed until she got into it, and then he like exploded the room with vines, and then she was just like, well, okay. And
that's so bizarre. Because why would that variation exist? Like that's going to make it better? Like
yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of goes into like the fruit of this coupling is Dionysus.
All right.
Yeah, the god of the vine and all that. So anyway, all right. She must have really been something to behold, because in Roman mythology, her name is Stimula.
Huh. Stimula. Response. Get in here. Time for dinner.
Okay. But Zeus's wife Hera eventually figured out where he was going all these nights he was leaving Mount Olympus. And she got a bit jealous. So Hera disguised herself with the intent to visit the expectant Semele and got Semele to tell her all about her handsome man. Hera then revealed to Semele that her man was actually Zeus, because apparently he hadn't gotten to that part yet.
Oh.
Now, of course, Semele was a bit skeptical. So Hera deviously suggested that the next time Zeus comes down for a visit, Semele should ask him to show her his true godly form.
That's like Zeus with his shirt off, where his like man rolls are coming out, or
kinda. Well,
see what I'm married to. Do you like him now?
What do you think of that farmer tan?
I bet he did the vine bit.
So when Zeus showed up next, thinking he'd have a night with his little lady, she approached him about showing off his true form. And he did so, apparently not remembering that mortals could not physically handle being in the presence of the true form of a god. And when Zeus unveiled his godly personage emanating divine light and power, Semele was immediately burnt to a crisp.
Wow. And that's when Zeus did a slow pan turn over to Hera. You knew that would happen, said Zeus. Hera slyly stirred her martini and looked left and right and coyly lifted one shoulder and said, I don't know what you mean.
Now, Zeus managed to save the baby,
of course,
as a fetus, and this is considered to be his first birth, as he was pulled from the smoldering corpse of his mother.
From ashes to ashes.
Yeah. Now, Hera wasn't there, but I do like the scenario you just put together there. That was fun.
Oh, okay.
Unsure of what to do with a live fetus.
Oh man, I screwed up. What do I do?
It's like, I need Tom Selleck and Ted Danson, and we're gonna be like, oh no, I don't know what to do.
Three gods and a baby. Wait a minute, did you just make Zeus Steve Gutenberg?
Yeah.
That's cool. Let's keep going.
Okay, all right, yeah, okay. I mean, how many Police Academy movies? More than mine. So unsure of what to do, Zeus cut a hole in his thigh and sewed the baby into it so the fetus could continue to gestate.
Like RoboCop?
Yeah.
And the baby comes out whenever he...
Yep. So a few months later, Zeus removed Dionysus from his thigh because he was now ripe. And this is considered to be the second birth. So
got it.
Keep this idea of birth and rebirth in mind, because it does come into play later on in the story.
I will.
Now, some legends differ on that second birth part. Some variations suggest that the second birth was actually a resurrection story, and parts of this become very important to the rites performed in the city Dionysia. Now, in these versions, Hera was not going to be a very pleasant stepmother to Dionysus when Zeus presented the infant god in Olympus.
Look, honey, I just found it. It was following me home. Like, what?
It's like at the end of Face Off, when John Travolta brings those weird little kid, and he's like, hey, this is going to replace the other kid that I was watching that got killed.
It's
Sound
the
good?
son of my mortal enemy. So we're good?
We're good.
Yeah,
and everybody's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's fine. We still have a bedroom. Still jealous of the affair between Zeus and Semele, Hera convinced the Titans, now these are the older gods that are still just kind of hanging around after Zeus and his defeated them in a war for supremacy. Hera convinced the Titans that they should kill the baby.
Uh-huh.
And that's just what they did. The Titans snuck up on the poor little tyke. He's a baby. Like the way it was described was like they like launched this very, tactical strike on him. And he's like laying on the middle of the floor chewing on his rattle. So they snuck up on the poor little guy and ripped him to shreds with their bare hands.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. This is an act called the sparagamos, which literally means
that's an Italian dish.
To rend a living thing to pieces with the bare hands.
Say that word again.
Sparagamos.
Sparagamos.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
The sparagamos was immediately followed by the omophagia, the eating of the raw and recently rendered flesh of the victim.
I hate that there's words for that. Like,
what do we call this?
That's common that there's a word for it. Get your shit together, folks. It's literally the most carnal way of make it go away.
My next door neighbor's kid keeps throwing his frisbee in my yard. I know what I'm going to do.
There can be no evidence. So what happens next? I'm riveted.
Okay, so as I said, this is one version of how the story went. But in just about every version of the story, there is something of a last-minute saving or a way to bring the godchild back to life. So a resurrection story, right?
Okay. Yep.
Now, when he's finally saved, Zeus has Dionysus transported into the wilderness to explore or to be raised by orgiastic mountain nymphs, where this is where things start to take a really interesting turn.
Start? Okay.
On one side of the coin, you have Dionysus studying the different aspects of nature and agriculture as he's growing. Dionysus was enamored with all sorts of forest wildlife and studied their life cycles with great interest in introspection. Plus, many of the myths suggest that Dionysus would sometimes appear with horns, bringing him even closer to the wildlife he was keen on. Most suggest that the horns sprouted from like right above his eyes or right around his temples and would curl back over his head like a ram's horn or a goat's horn.
That's not the way it was?
No. That's kind of what it looked like. Like,
got it.
Anybody who said, I saw Dionysus. Oh yeah, what did his horns look like? Oh, they came right out and went over his face. Like, that wasn't him.
No. The next time I'm at a car truck meet, whatever, I'm like, hey man, is that a Dodge Dionysus? Gotta hear me?
Now, on the other side of this coin is Dionysus experimenting with grapes and pretty much inventing wine.
Attaboy.
Mm-hmm. His studies of the grapevine led him to discover the duality that could come from imbibing fermented juices, which we know can cause people to be in great joy or great rage. And sometimes both. And
grape joy and grape rage. Got it.
Yeah. And as you will see later, these traits came to be associated with Dionysus frequently as well. But on the positive side, the Greeks saw the lore of Dionysus as an opportunity to reflect on existence in the realm of dichotomies, like comparing one thing to another, particularly the stark differences between life and death. This whole part of birth and rebirth here is a really nice reminder for Greeks to trim their grapevines, cutting away the dead foliage so new life can come about. There's a fundamental change to the organism which allows it to grow and progress and become a greater thing. And this was all the rage in Greece at the time, as Greeks generally wanted to see how close to perfection they could get while in human form. So sometimes this takes a shedding of an old skin, as it were, like a serpent, which is also an image associated with Dionysus. Nature things.
I don't have any quip for that. I think that's fascinating.
Back to this wandering god.
Okay.
Well, Dionysus' travels took him a lot of different places, and as he traveled, he would gain followers. And I suppose here I should start talking about the theasos of Dionysus, and this is the Greek word for the followers of the god. More specifically, I'll talk about the female followers because in this legend, they're a lot more fun.
Oh, great.
You see, the word theasos carries with it another connotation. Quote, in antiquity, it was frequently used to describe a group who engaged in ecstatic activity.
Ecstatic activity.
In the throes of absolute awe and joy and wonder.
Hey, no better way to live.
Hey, you know what? I like me some ecstasy. It's going to be fun.
You, I'll do you too.
Yes, pretty close there. So, according to legend, as Dionysus roamed around and showed people how much fun not only he was, but how much fun wine was, these people would lose their damn minds with delight, particularly women.
Huh. I mean, and beer goggles were invented.
Here, why don't you try this wine? Is there anything in it? No.
A handsomer me, drink it.
Did I mention I'm a god? Now, these women were known by many names, and this is where our old humanities professor and I got into an argument, because I knew that the Greek ones were known as Maenads, Maenads. I was also under the impression that the Roman version of these were known as the Bacchae, because the Dionysus in Roman mythology is named Bacchus.
Right.
I was wrong. They were both called the same thing in Greek times.
All right, fine.
Sorry, doctor, if you're alive.
But, quick pitch for the Bacchanal in Vegas. It's incredible.
Yes. Yep.
It is.
You are right on par here, Brian. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't go.
These women could easily be identified on sight. As per their god's orders to denote their faith, they wore the skin of a fawn pinned to the shoulders and draped across their torso.
Huh.
So you see them right away. Like, oh, there they come.
Why would you go, oh, no, there they are. Wouldn't it be like, oh, hey.
Hey, ladies. You'll see why here in a little while. Okay. They didn't always have the best reputation. They also carried a wand called a thyrsus, Thyrsus. This is basically a stick of fennel.
Which is, I know what fennel is, but maybe those listeners who may not know what fennel is.
Endear us, wordsmith.
Fennel is a root, and they grind it up in carnivals. They deep fry it and put powdered sugar on it.
There you go. Yep.
They call them fennel cakes. I don't know.
Oh, it's basically, like a stick, like a reed. So it's a stick of fennel wrapped in ivy and topped with a pine cone.
Ouch.
So
you're just going to hit me with it, right?
Well, maybe. I mean,
you put it somewhere?
It's more like it's another thing that they have. So if the fawn skin fell off, as sometimes it probably would, they'd still probably at least be carrying the thyrsus, and you're like, well, there goes some Bacchae. Oh, and they were also quite often completely stark raving mad due to their general constant state of Dionysian ecstasy.
So probably not those I would ask advice if I ran into on the road and like, hey, I'm on my way to collect a debt. How much interest?
I love life.
Honey, just go to the other side of the road. Don't make eye contact, honey. Don't make eye contact.
They're just dancing around, singing, and basically drunk.
Wow.
It was said that for sustenance, not only would they drink a lot of wine, but these women would just run into the forest, and whatever critter they could find, big or small, they would rip it apart with their bare hands and ravenously devour the raw meat.
Which is Saragosius and Eat-em-uppius. What are those words?
Yes, you got it. Mm-hmm. And while they were there, they would engage in orgiastic activity and frenetic dancing.
Was it before or after they killed the animal?
Yes.
Yes, understood. Why?
Constant state of
the answer to that question is
yep. It's kind of like they're almost like zombies, but they're really happy.
Really happy. Oh, I want to see that movie. Just Joy just knocking on the door. Hey, someone's at. No, it's a zombie. Is it brains? No, okay. Just really polite. Oh, honey, he's brought flowers. Those are not flowers. Arms, a bouquet of arms.
So, how does any of this relate back to theater?
Right, theater.
Right, right. Well, the bulk of the city Dionysia was a festival of theater in which playwrights would be chosen to compete against one another. 3 playwrights would be selected by an archon, something of a master of ceremonies, and each would present 3 tragedies and 1 satyr play. Now, I won't get too much into the satyr plays in this episode. I'm going to save it for something coming up. But basically, a satyr play would be a much shorter comedic play with really lewd humor and costumes, and would mock current political or cultural situations by satirizing a story from Greek mythology.
Huh.
Yeah.
So 3 plays and then 1 comedy. Like what we
Yeah. So 3 tragedies,
right,
and then 1 little short dinky play.
If I'm an actor cast in that short dinky comedy one, I'm like, I gotta follow 2 tragedies. They put me after the second one. Hey guys, how we doing tonight? How about that untimely death in that story? Who saw that coming?
What did you think of the hubris on that guy?
Am I right? Oh, someone's loins are wandering in the middle aisle. And we now bring you the saddest of the 3. Okay, I'll be here all night.
Oh man,
it's my luck.
But in any case, the city Dionysia honored the god through theater, mainly due to the change that was supposed to come over people during the attendance of theater. So you see, a great catharsis was meant to be the result of each tragedy. And catharsis here meaning like a full purgation of emotion or the self-destructive tendencies. So by observing the decisions and actions taken by tragic heroes whose worlds would end in ruin, an audience would then be able to leave the theater changed.
See guys, don't do what he did.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but I was gonna kill my father and marry my mother. No.
Yeah,
no,
2
no,
Greeks are leaving the center aisle now, arm in arm. I was totally gonna kill you at intermission. What a great play!
So you see, here we are, hearkening back to that idea of a grapevine being trimmed, going through massive change to be able to become something better. This is all Dionysian gospel.
That's a great part of theater.
However.
No, it was perfect. Don't however me.
No. However, in order to get the performance space ready and get people in the mood, as it were.
Vines.
Poof.
Vines.
And now you're all pregnant.
Hooray.
No, more rituals to the god needed to take place before the theater competition could begin. So at the beginning of the ceremony, the ritual statue of Dionysus was removed from its temple in Athens and then either carried on a wagon or simply hoisted on the backs of followers in a procession to the town of Eleutherae, a nearby town from where the statue originally came from.
They would carry the statue to say, we got to bring this. This has to be at the center of our activities. We can't leave it.
Yeah. Okay. But then they'd bring it back to Athens, to the theater where the shows were going to take place.
And the guy in charge of that job is called Schlepolus.
Right? All right, everybody. We're going to take the statue from the one place down to the other place and go. I'll be in the bar.
He really trusts the people he's delegated that to. It's an important job. I don't think I'd trust them.
So the statue's then carried to the Theater Dionysia on the southern slope of the Acropolis, which is still mostly preserved today. The statue would then be in the theater for the remainder of the festival, so it could oversee the dramatic performances and bless the area with the god's presence. Now, during the procession to Eleutherae and to the theater, men would carry great buckets or bladders filled with wine and basically be giving onlookers copious amounts of wine and even just spilling it out onto the streets.
Mardi Gras.
I mean, as a celebration of the god who created it.
I want to go to the festival of the god who created just free cash. I got to go to this celebration and keep it up off the streets.
Wine and now remember, like I said, all of this is about change from the old to the new. So I would say, with a significant amount of wine in me, I'd be doing some changing.
Hey, what kind of drunk are you?
What kind of a drunk am I?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been an angry drunk ever. I'm a pretty happy drunk.
Oh, that's good. If it's what they say is true, it brings out your natural deal.
Yeah.
It exemplifies what's already there.
Oh, cool.
I can imagine just being drunk with you and you're just talking my ear off like, shut up.
Hey. I'm starting this podcast. You need to be on it.
I got to warn you, when I got too much Dionysus flowing in me, I maybe not so much now, but I definitely was. Hey, dare me to do something crazy and I'll do it. I would, because then I knew I could blame it on
it was the drink. It was the drink.
Mm-hmm.
Now, also with this procession, some other sights could be seen. Women, noted as the virgin followers of the cult of Dionysus.
What were they wearing draped across themselves?
Well, they probably had the fawn skins over full dress. But they would be carrying baskets on their heads with all the manner of tools in which to kill farm animals.
Awesome.
Want to know why?
I do.
Quote,
All right.
large numbers of animals were sacrificed at an altar in the center of the theater, giving the audience a sight of real blood before the stage blood of the tragedies they would watch in the following days.
Well, okay. So, hey guys, here's some real blood because you're about to see some red ribbons being pulled out of a palm.
Ironically, in Greek theater, you very seldom saw any violence on the stage. It all happened off stage, and somebody would come in and report about it.
Was it budget cuts?
Yeah.
Because I don't think money's the problem. I wonder why they were like, no, we don't show that.
The Athenian Endowment for the Arts is like, maybe we should just go a little less. So you just saw a bull get his whole head chopped off, and it's poured all over. Why do you want to see people? So, yes, I mean, Oedipus did stab his eyes with Yocasta's brooch once she hanged herself, but that happened off stage. We only got to see the bloody sockets when he came back on stage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, as I just mentioned, there was one significant sacrifice that happened on the stage, and that was of a bull. This could be in reference to the story of Dionysus' mother Semele, who, as you might remember from earlier, sacrificed a bull in the temple of Zeus to please the god. But this could also be in reference to one of the variations on the death of Dionysus. So, remember when the Titans ripped the tiny little Dionysus to tiny little bits?
Yes, they do.
In one version of the story, Dionysus learned that as a god, he could change himself into different forms, particularly animal forms. So when the Titans ambushed him, Dionysus...
You can't see this right now, guys, but my eyes are getting really wide.
You're like, whoa, really?
Okay, what happened next?
Dionysus is said to have changed into many different animal forms in attempts to escape.
In attempts to escape. Did he escape?
It's when he took the form of a bull that they finally caught him.
Oh.
Ripped him apart, ate the meats, but they left the heart.
They left the heart.
Yeah.
Okay, little Diana, why you're going through all these animals, going this, that. You didn't think about a bird? How about a bird, buddy? No, a bull, a slow. Rip.
Hey, are you guys here for fun?
I'll make myself something slow and tasty. Not so much.
So, in the rituals during the city Dionysia, a bull would be sacrificed in full view of those in attendance. And the sacrificing cultist would then eat a chunk of the meat, and then the bull would be ripped to smithereens.
Wow.
Every year. Mm-hmm. Every year.
And that same bull, every year. He just couldn't.
Okay, we got to staple Herbie back together again.
Herbie? You named him Herbie?
Yeah, why not? Herbie the bull. Hey, I'm Herbie. Is it that time of year again, guys? Let's go. I love this.
Oh, wait, I remember this place. Ow!
Just like your dog and when it's going in for a bath, just the stiff legs. Like, oh, guys, no.
No.
Now, although the participants in the ritual would make sure not to hurt the heart, as that was part of the rite, you keep the bull's heart until after the festival's over.
They're not animal. I mean, they're not, yes, they're animals.
Right. Well,
not animals.
Now, I'll remind you again that the sacrifice was not just about being mindless and bloodthirsty. There was a definite purpose here. You see, the sacrificing of the bull and allowing the blood to soak into the floor of the theater, Athenians believed they were washing the space anew. And by causing the death of one living thing, they would be allowing other living things in the space to be given new life.
Oh, wow.
All at the beginning of springtime. What could be more appropriate?
Right. Flowers are blooming. The scents are in the air. The lilacs are gorgeous. There's little birds and trees, and they're looking around going, this is too much life, guys. Something's got to go.
So once the stage has been properly purified, the competitions of plays could begin. And like I said before, remember that the purpose of these plays was to educate as well as entertain. So really they were similar to parables in the Bible, fascinating stories that may be fact or fiction, but they do result in a way that a lesson of morality can be the result. And the audience only really got this after that significant change had happened to the protagonist. Quite frequently in tragedies, this basically meant that the protagonist died as a result of their choices on Earth.
Right.
Now, here's what gets a little tricky for us in modern times to relate to these tragedies completely.
Because I'm having a great time so far being in modern times, talking about this ancient thing and ripping it apart like I am so, we're on the right side of the future. Bunch of idiots.
These savages killing bulls. I mean, could you imagine
I play with puppets. I'm enlightened.
So most of these tragedies were a result of the protagonist's doubt in the divinity of the gods, or a doubt that the gods had that what the gods had declared would come to pass. So it's basically like the gods have said it, don't question it. Okay. So like I said, that for us, sometimes we read these plays and we're like, yeah. I remember it was a few years ago, some of my students, while I was still teaching, we saw Oedipus, and it was an old, like, it's kind of the one that gets shown in classrooms all the time. It's, it has big masks and everything, and they're acting, and it's very sing-songy. But halfway through it, Oedipus is told like 3 times, hey, man, yeah, the Sphinx was right.
It's not going to work out well for you.
This is what the gods say. Yeah. And he goes, no, I'm going to try to find a way that this is not correct. And these freshman students are looking at this and they're going, my God, man, what does it take?
Flashback, you didn't listen to your mom last summer and get that job at waiting table. You're told 3 times, and he's like, man, Oedipus is a dummy. Wait a minute.
I will never not listen to the gods again. So, what tragedies exist about Dionysus? To the best of our knowledge, Dionysus took the stage many times, not just as a statue that would solemnly watch the entire proceedings from year to year, but as a character that would be in the plays performed. One such tale is the play entitled The Bacchae.
I just felt like a sighing moment.
Yes, it definitely was. Here we are. Keep in mind, the plot of this play is derived from only one of the multitude of myths in which the legitimacy of Dionysus is questioned. And as can be suggested by my previous statements on tragedies and the questioning of gods, you can imagine how these ended for those doing the questioning.
By the way, I'm imagining Dionysus being played by Robert Downey Jr. Is that okay?
That's perfect. I think that's fine. Yeah, I think that's great. So, Brian, do you remember this play written by this podcast namesake, the playwright Euripides, the play known as The Bacchae?
Do I remember it?
Yeah.
From a moment ago? Yes.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I know it was.
No, I don't recall. Again, Bacchae, I'm in Vegas eating amazing short ribs.
Got it. Yep. Well, for our listeners, I'll give a play-by-play. Now, remember, Dionysus is the son of Zeus and the human woman Semele, so he had a human bloodline. And one of these family members was his cousin, Pentheus. He was the king of the city-state of Thebes, where Dionysus' entire human bloodline resided. And one day, Dionysus returns to Thebes as he had heard that many Theban people had been suggesting that he wasn't actually the son of Zeus.
How dare they?
How dare they? Rather, they spread the rumor that Semele had basically gotten pregnant out of wedlock and that the identity of the father was a secret.
Those Thebans.
Those Thebans?
Right.
Well, so Dionysus has returned not only to restore the reputation of his mother, but to prove his divinity. This is perfect that this is RDJ. So to kick things off, he makes every woman in Thebes go completely mad and sends them running into the hills to join his legion of female followers, including the women of his bloodline.
He could have made big buckets of wine appear.
Yeah.
He could have said, hey, look, here's a chunk of gold raining from the ceiling. No. It was a show of his power and also a kind of a punishment in the same go, wasn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. Oh, you're going to call me a liar? You're going to doubt my divinity? That's it. No more women. Poof. Oh, by the way, they're all crazy and they belong to me now.
Oh, man. Yeah, you should have thought about that.
Now, directly after this, some of these women, the Bacchae, appear to the audience as the chorus in this Greek drama, but they aren't necessarily just the ones who have just been converted. So, as you remember, he's been all over the place, so he's gotten a lot of followers. So these women spend some time talking to the audience just about how cool Dionysus is and just how much they've learned since completely devoting their lives to him.
It was a choice. Not a choice.
Soon, the old blind seer Tiresias enters the picture, looking for Pentheus' grandfather Cadmus. Having heard the praise from the Bacchae, these two oldsters think that joining up with this band sounds like a pretty good time.
Yeah, we're oldsters. Let's do it.
You're telling me that there's crazy women who run around naked and killing animals?
Wait, all that sounds good, but is there wine?
Whoa, you wouldn't believe the wine. I'm on a gold mine.
Sorry, it's all prospecting.
Yep. They even put on fawn skins to show their allegiance before heading out.
See, I'm a wild woman. I've got a fawn skin. Anyway.
This is when King Pentheus shows up to rain on the parade. Seeing the two old dudes trying to have a good time, Pentheus gets pretty perturbed, stops the two old dudes from going anywhere, and there and then Pentheus outlaws the worship of Dionysus, and anyone who is caught practicing Dionysian worship would be in deep, deep trouble.
Ooh, we've lost the women. We're not losing our oldsters too. Not our oldsters.
We need the old men. Where will we get our anecdotes from the olden times?
This wood isn't going to whittle itself.
Oh, and Pentheus also personally vows to cut off the head of Dionysus himself. Now, this is when some of Pentheus's guards come in and say they've caught Dionysus up in the mountains. And Dionysus is brought in front of Pentheus, who, while interrogating the god, appears both annoyed and in awe of the pretty man standing before him.
Well, first of all, he let himself get arrested. Let's not give too much credit to the guards, quote unquote.
You're coming with us. I'm coming with you. That was easy.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's go.
Now, when Dionysus won't deny his identity, Pentheus orders that Dionysus be chained to an angry bull in a stable.
That'll fix him.
Yeah.
Chained to an angry bull.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
In a stable.
Now, here's one thing that maybe Pentheus isn't aware of, but considering that he doubted the divinity of the god, it probably wouldn't have mattered much anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You see, one cool thing about not only being Dionysus, but also one of his followers, you can never be tied up or chained up.
That's a thing. It's like a superpower. Like he can never be. Yep. He's like, okay, go ahead, knock yourself out, chain me up.
Yeah. So every single time, once the fetters are secured, they just fall off.
Wouldn't you? There's one guy who's in charge of the chains, and everyone's looking at him. He's like, he's worked on my wife last night. I don't know why they're not working now.
When we go away for a long weekends, I just lock the kids in the closet and they don't move.
Hey, that door stays shut.
Now, there are a lot of stories in Dionysian legend where this happens, much to the chagrin of would-be captors.
I love chagrin. It's a great word.
Yeah. When Dionysus is chained to this bull, he simply let the guards leave him there and easily slipped out of chains once they were out of sight. Then he causes an earthquake and a fire which completely levels the royal palace.
See, that's my hang up with Dionysus. There's no comparative, punishment to the crime. It's all like, oh, you're gonna do it? Okay, no, go ahead. I'll make it very easy for you to make me more mad so that I can destroy you.
Oh, gonna chain me to a bull, huh? I'm gonna tear your house down.
It's like, I'm mad because you're not convinced I'm a god, so I'm gonna kill you and that'll convince you.
Yep.
It's like, well, hold up.
Still not convinced by this.
No. What kind of conspiracy? He's like, nope, fake news. It burned down because of a squirrel. A squirrel made love to a candle and run amok in the hayloft. Bad
Carpentership destroys more homes than a Dionysian god could ever imagine.
I want that on a t-shirt. Or at least a bumper sticker.
Mm-hmm. Now, amidst all this, the rubble and everything, a cattle herdsman runs up to Pentheus with urgent news.
Could be urgent news? The city burned down. Yeah, the city burned down. But listen to this.
Yeah, here we go. Now, while tending to his herd on top of Mount Kithaeron, he reported that he and his fellow herdsmen took notice of a bunch of wild women in fawn skins dancing around up there and had snakes crawling all over them. And they were doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh, and then he turns from the burning city to go, oh, I'm intrigued.
Excuse me? Now, when the women saw the herdsmen, they ambushed the herd. The herdsmen were able to escape, but pretty much all of their cattle were, guess what, ripped to shreds.
Because they're happy zombies and they want to destroy and rip apart. Yeah.
Yay for food!
Rip, guzzle.
Rip,
guzzle.
Tear.
Sure, tear.
And the report didn't stop there. Apparently, these women also besieged a nearby town and stole a bunch of precious metals and some babies, too.
Oh, no, not the precious metals.
It was one guy, he's like, I saw some pretty girls over there and they attacked our cows. And then the two guys behind him are like, yeah, and they went into town and stole all the gold and iron. And some came back with babies.
Cletus, that's one step too far. I'll never believe it now. Now they don't believe us.
We're really overselling this. Now, the villagers tried to fight them off, but were deflected by the women bearing their wands of fennel.
Oh, so it's the fennel rod wrapped in vines or ivy with a pine cone on it. That stick is going to send them into a state of shock and awe where they don't react as quick.
Grab your axe, grab your pitchfork. I've got torches. Let's go get them. And they go to town, and here's the women going, oh, la, 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 oh, la, 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 waving their fennel wands around.
Short. Like, I don't know if it's a timpani mallet or a ladle. I can't.
I can't kill those ladies. That's just...
Wow.
Put them right in their place. The women retreated back to the mountains to bathe, where the snakes licked them clean.
Did they retreat or did they saunter?
No, they probably cavorted.
Yeah, and then you said about snakes. They ate. What did they do to the snakes when they got back?
They got back up to the mountain, and the herdsmen saw them have those snakes that were all over them. The snakes just licked them clean. That's how they bathed. Now, completely befuddled, but strengthened in his resolve, Pentheus wants to go take these ladies down. This is when Dionysus appears to the furious king in disguise and convinces...
He's in his Iron Man suit. Got it.
Yep. He convinces the king that rather than launch a full military offensive, it would probably be better to do some reconnaissance, and that Pentheus himself should be the spy.
I'm starting to imagine these Olympian gods toying with humanity.
What?
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation where it's like, hey, look, don't question them, but they're doing really questionable things. No.
I think they're trying to one up each other as gods. Hey, look down from Mount Olympus and watches. Well, what do I want to do to this guy?
You make all those women crazy? Oh my God! I was just going to make a dog talk or something. Now Pentheus agrees to this, to go be the spy, and Dionysus leads him up into the woods. Now, before they go, Dionysus also convinces Pentheus to dress as one of the Bacchae so as not to draw suspicion. And this is particularly convenient because, the Bacchae were all in their coral masks. So, put a mask on. They'll just think you're one of them, right?
Bam.
This is also, and this is one weird part of this story.
One weird part.
This is also when Pentheus may be fully submitting to the god's power as he claims to see the horns on Dionysus, possibly 2 suns in the sky, and then claims to have the ability to rip mountains apart with his bare hands.
So he's acknowledging some of what the gods do.
Yeah. But he's also going,
I see the horns.
If they can do it, I can do it better.
Uh-oh.
So
feeling like a tragic flaw.
A little bit. So feeling pretty puffed up, Pentheus and Dionysus head up the mountain. What happens there is reported to us later by a messenger.
Oh, man, to be that messenger.
You guys. Apparently, Pentheus and Dionysus got pretty close to the camp of revelers and climbed a tree to get a better view. This is when Dionysus full-on announced his presence and made Pentheus appear to the crazed women as a mountain lion.
Oh, no. Wait a minute. I'm remembering what happens to animals in the company of these guys. Oh,
no. Yep, you got it. Tear it apart. And that's precisely what they did.
Is that what they do at Buco de Beppo, like certain restaurants? They put the food. Is there a restaurant that, okay, here's a fully cooked, chicken or a leg of a cow. Now, family style, guys, dive in and nope, no forks or knives here.
The gods gave you a fork and a knife at the end of your arms.
If God wanted us to have forks, he wouldn't have given us incisors. So that's the kind of punishment I'm talking about. Like he finally says, see, I'm the guy. And instead of him even having an opportunity to say, I'm sorry, you're right. No, you're a mountain lion. You are a tasty kitty. And now you do not have 9 lives. You you're sensation. What is that cat food that comes in a tin that's really expensive and that white sheep looking cat?
Fancy feast.
You are a fancy feast.
You are a fancy feast. Meow. The attack is led by Agave, Pentheus's mother.
Agave. That's that nectar, right? It's not honey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
His mom?
Yeah. She went, get it.
Right, because she's a happy zombie now. And Yeah.
Now, once the perceived cougar had been dispatched, Agave proceeded to place its head upon a spike.
So a warning to all the other random big felines. This is not the place for you.
Come around us again. Huh?
And then the rats came up. They saw that and went, guys, this is the place. We're good. We're good here. All the wine and cheese you can eat.
Now, once this report is finished, the women show up with the rendered pieces of the corpse, marching them around in Thebes, basically under the impression that they are showing off the kill of a vicious beast that could have attacked the town. Agave, quite proud of what she accomplished in her enraptured state, went straight to her father Cadmus and showed off her prize. Huh?
What it
Hey!
did, right?
His grandson's severed head on the end of a stick.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Was she under the, like, did she have the beer goggles
she's
on?
still like, yeah, see, look, it's a mountain lion head. See, got it.
See?
Cadmus reacts in horror and tries to convince his maddened daughter of what she has done. She actually refuses and wants to show her son the head of the lion and that it must be nailed above the palace door to denote the nobility. No irony there.
Ha.
I gotta go show this to Pentheus. Where is he? Whenever I come back with some new stuff, he is always somewhere else. Pretty soon after, the spell is broken. The women realize what they have done. Result, the royal family is completely disgraced. Agave and her sister are banished. Cadmus and his wife are transformed into serpents.
So they don't get banished or put in they're lumped in with the other family who are now disgraced. They're like, okay, you guys can stay, but you're snakes.
Now, and of course, Cadmus was the one who was going to go off and be part of the whole thing at the beginning anyway with Tiresias.
Oh, was he one of the oldsters?
Yeah, he was one of the oldsters. So now he and his
that changes
wife,
everything, Aaron. That changes everything. Now, when she comes in with the lion head on the stick, now it's like, hey, no, that's your son. You've done a bad thing.
And then Dionysus comes and goes, you and your wife, you're snakes. Poof.
Well, isn't this well?
And, his wife's like, you always get us in the worst situations. And Dionysus leads some nearby barbarians to completely ransack the city. The end.
Oh, man, a couple things. That's insult to injury. Just, ransack the city. It's already burnt, right? And stuff.
Yep. Well, I mean, the palace was burned and razed. Yeah, the palace was burned.
Now, wait. The palace, exactly, right?
Yeah, it was just the palace. The rest of the town is fine.
Was it like, hey, Greeks, we're going to let these barbarians come in and take everything? Did the Greeks respond like, oh, not the barbarians, they're the worst humans? Was it kind of that thing? Like, why the barbarians? Yeah?
Why the barbarians? Because, I mean, they're already probably wild.
Right.
And, I can just get more followers. Yeah.
They're going to come through this town and they're going to break teacups. They're uncouth. They're gonna march their muddy boots on your tile mosaic.
Please don't take my daughters. I'm not here for the ladies. I'm here for your china.
Yes.
So, moral of the story, I guess, again, don't challenge the gods.
And that's it.
Yeah.
There you
well,
go.
not entirely. Now, that's just the story of the Bacchae, written by Euripides. Now, Euripides was a playwright who was known for standing out from his peers as someone who could make these characters from ancient myths seem utterly human rather than mythic beings. I mean, after all, he did also write Medea, and the character in that is rife with internal strife and fighting with herself.
I love Tyler Perry.
Now, most of the other tragedians would treat these characters with utmost reverence and godlike status almost. Not Euripides. And this could have been why Euripides won the play competition at the city Dionysia only 4 times during his lifetime, shadowed by contemporaries Sophocles, who won at least 20 times, and Aeschylus, who won at least 13 times.
So he was the dark horse. He was like, okay, if we make Euripides win, are we validating and not looking at God the most respect that we should be validating or looking at?
We are saying don't challenge the gods, but he's really making people question whether or not it's okay to. I don't know if. Yeah. Let's put a warning label on those.
Right. He only won it 4 times, but he kept coming back. He was the George Carlin of the.
Boom. Mm-hmm. Now, but the kind of funny thing about that is, of all of the tragedies that have survived, we have more complete plays from Euripides than we do of any other playwright.
In your face!
Boom!
Please!
So most of the rest we know about are just from reports, or we have fragments of the plays. A couple little epilogues for this story. We're almost done.
All right.
The first time tragedies were noted to be performed at the city Dionysia was in 534 BC. But the festival is believed to have started a lot longer before that. So this is 2,500 years ago. The first winner of the playwriting competition was Thespis, whose name now gives us the term thespian, meaning a person who works in the theater. Yay. Thespis' prize for winning? A goat.
The greatest of all time. The goat. Oh, gosh.
You're like, oh, yeah. I won. I can't wait to see what I get. Here he is.
A goat. And didn't they start this whole thing off with like killing a bull? Couldn't he be like, could I have gotten the bull? I mean,
no, we had that for a reason. And it's gone now. Yeah.
You get it.
Now, I mean, there was a lot of use in a goat. You could milk it. Once it got older, you could fillet it, whatever. But this could also be in reference to the term tragedy, which etymology tells us comes from the ancient words, the Greek words for goat and song. So basically, a tragedy is a goat song.
So, I don't know. You've watched this tragedy. It ends. Do you just bleat at the actors?
Oh, they really liked it. They really
loved it.
So I can only imagine that the nomenclature also derives from the fact that tragedies were written to praise Dionysus, a god associated with agriculture, who is said to have horns similar to a goat.
Aha!
So in the living trophy, the Bacchae was not performed at the city Dionysia until 406 BC, 1 year after Euripides had died. Euripides' son, who had the same name as his father, brought the play to the festival in his father's honor. The play won first prize, giving Euripides his 5th victory.
Oh, yay! It's got a happy ending.
Well, I'm not done yet. Speaking of Euripides' death, Euripides didn't have too much of a happy life. As mentioned before, he wasn't as successful as a playwright as his contemporaries. He had 2 wives who cheated on him and is said to have left the city in old age to become a hermit in the mountains.
I quit. Up the hill I go. All this talk about horns on the head, my 2 wives have cuckolded me. I get it.
Quote, the story of his death is probably a myth, but a compelling one, as it gained currency among the Athenians and gives an insight into what they thought of him. A vengeful woman, whether a mistress or not is unknown, is said to have set a pack of wild dogs on him, and they tore him to shreds. End quote. And that is the story of the city Dionysia.
Bravo! Bravo! The crowd goes. That was amazing. Oh, gosh. Man, that's got a lot of full circle stuff going on there. That rewards the listener. Hey, that's gonna play. That's gonna come back.
Hey,
nothing's wasted. Nothing's wasted. Not a hoof, a claw, a lip,
no,
or a bladder.
Yep. I mean, it just became so interesting to me when I started researching this that I'm like, wait, they tore that to shreds too? And then this was torn to shreds as well. Okay. I mean, they didn't strike him with a bolt of lightning or run him through with a spear or something. Just grab him and rip, boys.
There has to be an episode of a modern, procedural drama, cop drama, where the detective comes in like, so wait, do we have a body or don't? No. All we found is a fingernail and a tip of a navel. And he looks around the room, looks up into the camera, takes his shades off and goes, Bacchus.
Yeah! I can't believe he claimed another. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't want to mock it. It's like that was their faith. That was their religion. That's how they believed. And that's how they changed and grew and were better people. At some point, I want to know where it was where somebody turned to somebody else and went, hey, do we need to kill the bull anymore?
Wait a minute.
Why don't we just say we killed enough bulls? Does that sound good? And then we could just get to the plays.
I know. Yeah, well, it's so funny how things change from time to time. There's eventually going to be a glitch in the Matrix. One guy's going to look around and go, wait a minute. I think the stars are going to do what they do no matter what. I don't think I don't think any of these guys throughout history who've changed traditions did it on purpose. I think they got drunk and forgot.
Oh, hail Dionysus!
I did not forgot to do we left the statue there. We didn't haul it. The bull. Look, there he is. He's.
Can we still do the plays? Yeah, I guess.
It's tradition. Are you superstitious at all with anything in the theater? The theater has a lot of superstition. I'm just curious if you.
I that is a topic of an upcoming episode. Is theater superstitions? I know that.
Stay tuned for that one.
Kinda. I don't say good luck in a theater. I don't say those words. I say break a leg or good show.
Yes. Regardless of what you believe, that's just like, I'm not going to say anything to you that's going to put you in your head before your performance. I'm going to do whatever I can to support you and encourage you. So that falls in that regard. I mean, saying the name of a certain Shakespearean play. Do you do that? Do you adhere to that one?
I personally don't care about it because at the same time, my last 2 episodes were on Spider-Man, which you could almost say in some terms was a little more cursed, but it still did pretty well. So it's like, I never say Spider-Man in a theater, I'll tell you that. But that one, I can see where people get superstitious because it's easy to see. There you go. It's lore, it's myth, it's been passed down from generation to generation. And there's something about it that sounds right.
We're about to jump into this live performance, guys. It could all go belly up in a moment. The last thing we need is anybody being cavalier or I mentioned the name of that Shakespearean play before a performance, and I was made to go outside, turn around, curse, spit, but I was literally kicked out of this theater by strong hands. And made to do this with the utmost sincerity that it taught me my lesson. That those guys were crazy. No, respect.
Respect of the rites and rituals of whatever this is, and keeps going. Well, there we go. Dionysus. This is where theater came from.
Thanks, you die guy.
So there we go. That's the story of Dionysus.
I am educated. I am uplifted. I am enamored, and I was entertained. I was enthralled, and I'm a better actor and thespian. I'm on a short path to being an oldster. That's the one person I created. I really lived through in this experience is the oldster.
Wow, that's going to be a good time, I suppose.
All of this insanity happening around these oldsters. They're old. They're probably going to kick off soon. Their perspectives, they look around like, well, here we go. They're not going to cry. Well, it happens.
We could just have a good time.
Well, you gotta go. I'll be ripped apart by some crazy lovelies. That's how I want.
Yes, I'm a moose. Dig in.
That's right. I put on the moose horns. This all right for me. Again next year. I'd get on it.
Oh, man. Well, Brian, thank you for doing this episode with me. I'd love to have you on again. This was super fun.
It was delightful.
And for those of you listening, keep an eye out for Frank and Emmett and Brian Michael Jones across or underneath puppets, I suppose. And I am Aaron Odom for Trident Theater. This has been another episode of Euripides Eumenides. We'll see you next time. I will catch you at intermission. Hey friends, this is your host Aaron Odom coming at you again. I want to thank you for listening to today's episode, and if you liked what you heard, please leave us a review wherever you pick this podcast up, or go ahead and like, share, subscribe, all the cool stuff you do with podcasts. We are Trident Theater, that's Theatre. You can find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or at our website, www.tridenttheater.com. Once again, this is Aaron Odom, and we try to get a new episode out every 2 weeks, so hope to see you again in a fortnight.
Apocalypse, I said, why you wanna show up now? Just when the heart of my life was getting good. I'll give you one more chance. Walk on out getting is good.